Hi everyone, I'm Danielle. Welcome to Danielle's Garden. And today I'm sitting down to talk about what's going through my head as I'm heading into spring and the things that I'm buying, planning to do, and planning to buy. And so I hope that this is helpful. And if you have any tips, of course, leave them in the comments below. So I veggie garden and ornamental garden. And so there's a lot that I'm kind of thinking of and things that I'm just consistently keeping track of. So for the veggie garden, that is very kind of specific to me, and not everybody is going to be redesigning their gardens and all of those things. So personally, I am raising all of my garden beds to be 2 feet tall, and currently they're just a 2x6, so they're roughly 6 inches tall. So I'm raising them, almost all of them, they're getting 3 more levels added to them. So that is not only more wood, but it's also more soil. So some of the things that I'm having to consider that you're probably not having to think about is not only the cost of wood, but the cost of soil and where I want to source that from, because I'm going to buy it in bulk, and doing the math and kind of figuring that out. So if you're adding any new garden beds, one thing to think about is, but how much soil is that going to take? And you kind of want to get that sooner rather than later. I'm hoping to get that by the end of February. So it's several $100s for the wood and several $100s for the soil for the amount that I need. And so that's one thing I'm thinking about, and kind of have been thinking about since November, since I decided that this is something that I wanted to do. And I also am having to think about, well, how many screws is that going to take to put them all together? And then I'm also on the veggie garden side thinking about relaying out the space, which I talked about in my other video. And I'm thinking about new trellises and things like that. Now, for the garden side of things, there are things that I think about going into like the stores. And you want to get to these things early while they're still in good shape. I am about 10-ish weeks out from my last frost date, and my Lowe's and Home Depot and Walmart are all starting to get in their items. My the garden centers around me, like the local garden centers around me, they also are going to start bringing in things. Right now, a lot of them are set up with just like their seeds and like their indoor decor and their greenhouses, and they don't have many landscaping plants out other than like evergreens and things like that. So they're going to start bringing in more items or bringing things out of the greenhouses for the public to buy. So things to look for while they're still good at the big stores is bulbs, mainly your elephant ear bulbs. You can either order them online, but I have found that elephant ears that you buy in the store while they're still firm are really good. And I looked at Lowe's, Home Depot, and Walmart, and then I looked at a place online and kind of weighed my options, and I ended up going with what I got at Walmart. So I got these large elephant ear bulbs at Walmart, and they are, here's my head. I think these are in like that 7 to 9 inch rating. And so these bulbs were $5.42. The reason I went ahead and got these from Walmart is because the ones at the other stores were in 3-packs, and the bulbs were smaller. They're about half the size of this one. Or this similar sized bulb was at the other stores for double the price. And so I went ahead and got 3, and I tried to get 3 that looked all about the same size width-wise. And then this is the one I liked the most because it was more oblong as well. But when you're looking at bulbs, you just want to make sure there's nothing mushy, that everything is firm, and you should be good to go. When you plant them, this is the top, the round part, and then this is the root part. And you can kind of tell because it's a little dirty down here. And then this is where things start growing out of, these growth points. And my dog is trying to smell it. But I went ahead and got 3 of these. Last year, I got 3 from Tractor Supply. Smaller than that. All 3 of them came up. But I will say one took 1 month to come up, one took 2 months to come up. So the sooner you can get that, in the better shape, because I'm out here picking the best ones. I'm not leaving you the one I want. So definitely get there early and get the ones that you want. Okay. Are you trying to sit in my lap? So I don't know what she's doing. In addition, you'll see a lot of different bulbs at the stores. So you'll see dahlias, you'll see gladiolas, you'll see lilies, you'll see ranunculus, lily of the valley, tons of different things. I went and got dahlias, but I did not go and get anything else. And I've already posted that video about me pre-starting my dahlias. And then interestingly enough, I went back to that same Lowe's like 2 days later and none of that stuff was out. So I don't know if it wasn't supposed to go out yet or if they were waiting for us to go through this cold snap before they put it back out. I don't really know. You'll also see onions, garlic, asparagus, strawberries, blueberries, all of that. So if you're wanting to do any of those edible things, you can look at that. So the garlic is probably fine for you to get from the store. The potatoes, sweet potatoes, are probably also okay. But the strawberries, I don't know. I get mine shipped to me from So True Seed in North Carolina, Asheville. But anyways, so all of those things are starting to come out now. Also, your local garden centers will probably have some of those things. I follow all of them on Facebook and Instagram and whatnot. And sometimes they post it, sometimes they don't. The one that I do really like, they actually don't bring in seed potatoes. They just sell like normal botanical interest seed. So it just depends. But that's one thing, is to like get there early, go look, I would say once a week, if not more. Additionally, I am on the lookout and I'm going consistently looking for bare root roses. I want to get to that early. Amanda at She's a Mad Gardener, her Home Depot already got their bare root roses. And so I'm on the lookout for my bare root roses. So that's another thing, because you want to get the ones that you want. And now I will say one other note is that while you're in the stores, it would be good for you to just kind of roam, because let me tell you the things that I have scored. So I am so shocked by this deal that I found. I was walking down the aisle, not even like looking for the discount areas, and I got, I kid you not, fertilizers that were $20. They were on sale for $1. $1 at Home Depot. So I got all 5 of them because I got some to share. So let me show you. I got 5 of these. They're the Miracle Grow Spring Ahead Food for All Plants. One feeding lasts up to 6 months. And I think they're on sale because they're ripped at the top. That doesn't change anything. And I mean, they're not, I mean, it's not, you know, stuck solid or anything. So I got all 5 of this. I got $100 worth of fertilizer for $5, and I gave some to family and whatnot. But this will last me the whole season. Like this is an amazing purchase. So I would say look at the discount aisle. Additionally, because I also got a planting trellis hook. I got a planting trellis hook at Home Depot. I think it's the Vigoro brand, but it's one of those that holds like hanging baskets. I got it half price. It was normally $20. I got it for $10, and I'm going to replace some of the stuff in one of my hooks in the front yard because I want one that's more sturdy. So again, that's stuff that was randomly on sale. And Home Depot was also doing a sale on their planters. So I would definitely recommend when you go once a week, twice a week even, and look for all of those new things. And I also shop at Tractor Supply, and they have a lot of things on sale as well. Like I got a kneeling pad that was normally, I don't know whatever the normal price was, but it was more than I wanted to pay. And so I waited a few weeks and then they put it on sale for like $5. And it's a really thick kneeling pad. So again, this is a perfect time of year where they're kind of moving around inventories and you may be able to get something for less. So for the vegetable garden, I know how much I'm going to grow of everything and I know what I'm going to grow. But how I'm going to preserve it, I still have plenty of time to think about that. So I water bath can, but I want to get into doing my own powders and whatnot. And so I was on the hunt for some, like a dehydrator, and was put that in my Amazon cart. I was going to get a hanging herb dryer, things like that. But then back on the deal realm, I was in Goodwill and got and found a dehydrator, and it's the Presto Dehydro electric dehydrator. It was in amazing shape and it was a fraction of the price. I got it for $25 and it's super clean. I tested in the store and I've washed everything triple times, so it'll be good to go. But that's something that I really lucked out on. One other thing that I'm on the lookout for is a roasting pan. So if I didn't have all of my canning supplies, one other thing, so for example, if I didn't have all my canning supplies, I would be thinking about, well, how much do you need to make to can? Do I need new water bath canners? Do I need, more mason jars, things like that? I have plenty of that sort of stuff. I am kind of expanding and I want to get like a roaster, like the XX, like the super large crock pot type roasters. And that way I can put my sauce in the roaster and let it cook overnight and let off some of that more water and have a thicker sauce. So those are also things that I'm thinking about, because I'm thinking about, well, how am I going to preserve? And lo and behold, I practically spoke it into existence and I found that dehydrator at Goodwill for $25. Another thing that I'm thinking about is pruning. So I have plenty of plants that do need to either be cleaned up, their dead leaves picked up, / pruned. So that's another thing, is that once the weather isn't terrible, but we're out of this really, really cold weather, I'm going to go around all my hosta leaves. I'm going to clean up. I'm going to clean up all the perennial stems that are dead. And I'm going to go around and clean up my hydrangeas, prune those. And then also my big, big camellia. I have worked on it a lot. When I bought the house, it was in rough shape. So I prune it a little bit every year. The issue is that a lot of the pruning is now getting to the point where I can't reach it. So what I'm going to be researching is a pruner or extension pruner or something, so that I can get these tall branches, because there's a lot of branches going straight up, which you don't want in your tree. There's a lot of branches going straight up. So I'm going to try to find something that I can send into the tree and still cut, that extends, because I'm too short. So just thinking about that, like, do you need to cut back anything? And I leave things for a good amount of time, but at some point it does need to be cleaned up, and especially the hosta leaves and things like that. I don't want to leave anything on the ground that's bad. I do generally leave the leaves though, as long as I can. Another thing that I'm thinking about is my planters, what's going to go in them and where they're going to go. And when I have that in mind, and if I know I want a certain design, but I don't have a planter that matches it, I'm also on the lookout for planters. I really would like some concrete planters, or like some really large, nice pots, but they generally are very expensive and more than I want to pay. So I'm always on the lookout for that, like Facebook Marketplace. But if I'm working with what I have, I try to think generally of what I want to put where, what I liked last year, and thinking about, I have a lot of things that are in twos, or if I want to do a new bed space. And so just thinking about what designs I want to do, what color schemes. And I've bought some seeds for things, and then also I'll know what I kind of want to buy. And based on the pots that I have, I will design some things and be on the lookout for those items as they come out, and I want to be the first to get them. For example, I really like putting potato vine in my front planters, and those are my wood ones that I don't move, so I'm for sure going to be buying potato vine. I like putting coleus because it's also a part shade area and it shows up well. I did some impatiens in there this last year. I really liked that. I have 2 barrel planters also. I have 2 big red planters. I have tons of terracotta. Some of them I didn't even use this year. Some of them I did. And so that's just something I start thinking about now is, you know, how many planters do I want because I have to water them? How many hanging baskets do I want? I know that I do my ferns at the top. So just, you know, those are the things to be thinking about is how do you want to design your not in-ground spaces? And another thing, speaking of watering, is your drip irrigation if you have it, or hoses and things like that. So I have drip irrigation and hoses, and the drip irrigation in both my beds, actually my garden bed and in my planters, in my veggie garden, I want to replace and redesign. What I laid down 3 years ago is not necessarily the most efficient way to water my plants or the nicest way to water my plants. So I do want to redesign that. Now that does come with a cost because I have to buy new stuff. And then also I am putting in like new faucets or something like that. Then that's something to think about, or making sure that your hoses are long enough to reach where you want to put something. So when you're coming up with these new designs, can you get water to them? So these are all things that go in my head. And so I got a retractable hose for Christmas. Well, I wanted to put it somewhere. The best place for it was not near my water source. So that was something I had to think about because I want to make sure that it reaches all parts of the garden. And that just logistically is something that I had to decide and consider before we put it where it is. Okay. And also I will say, like Tractor Supply sells, Tractor Supply sells Espoma products, and so does my local garden center. So this is something that I saw on the shelf and I grabbed. I thought it was a good price. And this is what I'm going to use for like my indoor seed starting fertilization. So that's another example. And when you're in the stores, like you're looking at seed trays. So I bought some just watering trays, and I did another like audit of what I had, and I realized that I needed more plant tags, and I needed more plant cells, the larger ones to be potted up. So that's something that I went and purchased. So there's just a lot of things that I'm thinking about. Mainly I'm thinking about pruning, I'm thinking about locations, I'm thinking about things that I need to buy, bulbs, and just going to the stores and looking for good deals, good prices. You'll get lucky eventually, is what I would say. Now, if you are moving into like a new place or you're starting with no garden, definitely take the time now to figure out where the sun comes up and what direction your house faces. Now the sun does come up differently in the winter and the summer, and you have longer days in the summer. But if you have a front porch that you want to decorate, is it in the shade or is it in the sun? Is it east facing, west facing? If you're wanting to do something in the backyard, again, what direction does your house face? For me, the sun travels over my house front to back, but there's some people where their sun travels from one side to the other or something like that. And so those are just things that would help you figure out which plants you want to buy, and what pots you may want to put out. Another thing that I'm thinking about is what plants, large plants, I want. So last year I put in a new garden bed and I said, you know what, I want to put incredible hydrangeas here, and I want to put an evergreen. And so last year, that's what I planned. And I went to the opening sales for my local garden center down the street, and they were doing a spring open house on this day. It started at this time, and I showed up in the first 5 minutes and I got my Incrediballs on a good price on sale. So because I had planned that early, I knew that I wanted those Incrediballs. And then I knew that I wanted an evergreen, and I kept my eye out for the one that I wanted at a good price, and Tractor Supply had it. So when you have a plan in mind and you can wait a little bit, or prepare for the sale price, etc., that I would really suggest following your local places on Facebook and Instagram so that you get their updates. And then also checking the Lowe's and Home Depot weekly ads and just going constantly. So I know a lot of what I'm talking about are things that I have to buy, and it's very important to me that I spend my money wisely. It's not unlimited. So I spend money on the big purchases on quality things. Like the wood, I'm going to buy 6 wood lumber. I don't want anything thin that's going to rot out. The soil that I'm buying is going to be high quality. But these other things that I can look at week after week and wait for a sale, I wait for a sale. I go to every single store. I look at every single website, and I check Facebook Marketplace, and I look for things that are at good prices. So it kind of does balance out and budget out eventually. When you're planning a garden or planning improvements, a lot of things do have to be purchased, especially when you are adding. Now, if I was not changing anything, if I was keeping my garden beds the same, if I wasn't changing out a lot of my planters, if I wasn't adding a new garden bed, if I wasn't doing all that stuff, I would have to buy new fertilizer and new plants, just like annuals. A lot of this stuff would not matter, but you're like wanting to constantly improve and constantly change things. And when you see a good sale, I mean, why not? But also when you have a new garden, the name of the game oftentimes is growth. So if like last year, my first year, I spent a lot of money on plants and everything. Then last year, I spent more of my money on the veggie garden, and I didn't buy as many perennials because I was running out of space. So then I was like, well, now I'll add a new garden. Well, now that adds more cost. So, your priorities just shift, and not everything has to cost a lot of money. But when you have a game plan and know what you want, and you can be patient, you do end up saving money. So a lot of what I'm focusing on is spending money on the quality and waiting and being patient for things to come on sale if it's not emergent. So these are just some of the things that I'm thinking about going into spring when I have the time to think about them. So definitely fertilizing, pruning, adding new spaces, adding new plants, planters. What do you need to find? What do you need to budget for? That's kind of what's going through my head. And hopefully I'm not missing anything, but I probably am. A lot of the things in the stores will start hitting you 8 to 10 weeks out from your last frost date. So I'm zone 8. That's kind of me right now. Zone 7, 6, 5, it'll go down. So things that are hitting me now in mid-January might hit another location mid-February, etc. Okay, so hopefully what I said made some sense. I had a plan of what to talk about, but I kind of went off script a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed. If you have any tips or tricks, leave them in the comments, and I will see you in the next